Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bowl LIX Podcast, host Cortez Paul.
Along with my co-host Paul Mack.
I want to thank you folks for tuning in today and listening to the show. Basically, we cover basketball, football, NCAA, or anything that's related to current events with a humorous twist to it, at least. You can follow the podcast at BIOC Podcast at X or Twitter. We're also on Instagram at the same name, BIOC Podcast. You go to our YouTube channel, that's also BIOC Podcast. Our Facebook page is Bowl LIX Podcast. So if you could please just give us a like, shout, comment on any of those, and definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Bowl LIX Podcast. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Bowl LIX Podcast. Cortez Paul is here. Paul Mack is joining me as usual. Good evening, sir. How's it going to you?
I didn't get traded in my sleep to another show, so there's that.
Yeah, man. Hey, I didn't have negotiations under the rug
without me knowing about it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I figured you at least owe me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I put you out there and see who's interested in you. I'm not just gonna go ahead and trade you and get you to somewhere I don't know. Just it's not fair. I just you just end up buying a home over there and getting settled and getting comfortable. So I don't want to uproot you, man. So I got to be respectful. So
well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
But I'm glad you're still around, sir. I did not trade you.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Oh man,
not till Thursday. Anything can happen.
Yeah. Hey, a few days
doesn't mean he's not listening to offers.
Absolutely. And then also, I had to make sure the deadline in because they adjust that February 6th in case you're having to fly, so I don't interrupt that and it gets awkward. So I just make sure that
what a guy.
I'm telling you, man, you just gotta build that player-client relationship, man. That's what we do around here.
I'm not just some asset.
Yes, that's right. So, hey, man, that will be coming up after this segment, but man, we got a lot to cover, man. Super Bowl Sunday is on the horizon. And it is the big game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. This will be on 6:30 p.m. on Fox. And this always is a big event, man, for everybody in America. So, America.
And I found out if you don't have cable, Tubi will let you watch the Super Bowl. If you sign up for Tubi, you can watch Super Bowl.
See, there you go, people. So you're in there. So make sure you get your Tubi accounts created.
It's free. It's free. All them Super Bowl commercials will pay for it. You'll be all
right. Are they going to get the Super Bowl commercials, or are they going to get some other type of advertising?
I'm sure. Whatever. Who cares?
Hey, you get the Super Bowl, so that's all that matters. So
get 4 hours of Tubi ads.
Yeah, man. So hey, man, we both football guys, and ending the football is always sentimental because, this is the big game. This is a championship game. But, man, this is the last game until a whole nother, basically, the end of the summer or beginning of the fall. So, this is it. So, what do you look forward to in regard to Super Bowl?
I mean, I think for me, I tend to have Sundays off. So, it's a nice day, relaxing day off. MegaCon's in town that weekend, so I'm gonna be out at MegaCon all weekend. I believe it closes early on Sunday, so get my day in, and then get home in time to enjoy some food, some snacks, and probably some drinks and the Super Bowl, man. Just relax. I don't have any skin in the game, so I get to enjoy it for what it is. A lot of interesting storylines, but it's just gonna be a business as usual Sunday with a big game at the end.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, man. I work on Sundays, but luckily I'm off before the game starts. So, but no, man. Listen, I grew up playing football, high school football, and all that stuff. So, from a pretty much a level of amateur German football I play, that's pretty much all I have. But watching it over the years and rooting for my favorite team I've been rooting for since I was a kid in middle school. I mean, I've been a Terrell Davis guy, so just growing up watching football and just kind of seeing where the sport has went and where it's going. And it's always cool, man, to get here, man. Luckily for me, basketball is my number one sport. So, when football ends, it's cool because I can just focus on basketball. The thing I like about football, when the game's going to be, you got to worry about it. Basketball is all spread out. Football, you already can plan your week around football and how it's going to go. So, man, I'm just excited for this to have a conclusion to this season, and let's see what happens between the Chiefs and the Eagles here. So, what is your go-to food when it comes to Super Bowl? If you're going to throw a Super Bowl party, if you're going to throw you and the missus,
there aren't the Super Bowl parties anymore. So, I just feel like you should have the staples, right? Some chips, a good dip. I'm a fan of a good, buffalo chicken dip, maybe a spinach artichoke dip, some Tostitos. Mostly finger foods. Probably get some buffalo wings. But just kind of pick throughout the game. Just kind of have it out and just, have my run at it. But, yeah, man, I think that's the whole point is just you grow up. I grew up, but it was always a big deal on Sundays is who's having the Super Bowl party, where you going, what are you bringing. But as you get older, people get busier and life happens, but it's always a good day to eat, bro. It's always a good day to eat, my man. So I'm looking forward to the treats and the snacks and all that stuff. But yeah, no, it's just a nice low key Sunday. Game starts at 6:30. So we'll probably kick off at 7. Be a nice long halftime show. Probably not going to end till 11 o'clock. We'll be all right. We'll be in there.
Yeah. Food wise for me, man, gotta have the wings. Ranch dip and sauce. I'm going to the Super Bowl party. I got invited, so after I get off work, I'm going to our friends in Clearmont and watch it there. So luckily for me, the Sunday is basically my Friday of the work week. So I'm off the next 3 days following, so I'll be all right. If the people that's got to go to work the next day on Mondays, I don't. So
same, yeah.
So I get to thoroughly enjoy the food. So yeah, definitely got to have some wings. Got to have the Doritos.
Tito Tez gonna be in full effect or what?
Tito Tez is gonna have some seltzers that night. I'm gonna take it at about a 7 or 6. Nothing too crazy because. I do not like one of these teams in here, but for the most part, I would be yelling at them or Taylor Swift and yeah. So, but in effect, yeah, the food wise, just give me some wings. I probably got to bring a plate to this Super Bowl party, so I'll probably make some dirty rice. So we'll go with that.
There you go.
Yeah, man. Favorite Super Bowl commercial? I had to watch a few, man, to kind of remind myself, but I got refreshed when I saw. I feel like, oh yeah, that wasn't a Super Bowl commercial a long time ago. Paul, you got a few that stand out to you? Super Bowl commercials?
I feel like they're not as good as they used to be. I feel like before, when we were really able to kind of push the envelope a little bit, it was really fun. I always remember just the beer commercials. I remember was it last year before? I think Tubi or somebody had a really good one where everybody thought their TV was broken. And it was changing channels and stuff like that. That's fun. I know there was a couple years ago, where it was a lot of big crypto commercials. But just give me something. Give me a commercial for something that when I watch it, I'm gonna wanna buy whatever they're pitching to me because we're in a weird place right now in America, and I don't necessarily want to give anybody my money. So, Make commercials make me want to spend some money or invest in something. Know your audience. I know there's going to be a lot of big celebrity commercials. I feel like I've just seen nothing but teaser ads where they're showing like beers and stuff. And it's like, tune in February 9th, see what happens. And it's just like all this build up. And it's just like, I miss just the commercial being on the Super Bowl. Like we didn't know what was coming. Like everyone just builds up now. It's this big marketing thing. And we kind of know what's coming weeks before the game. And it's just, it's not as fun.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I go back in the archives and a few, but of course the legendary Betty White in the Snickers commercial, and she making the "Yo Mama" joke. It's like, man, you playing like your mama didn't say that last night, so hearing an old woman make "Yo Mama" jokes is
R.I.P. Betty White.
Pretty funny. The Reebok commercial with the office linebacker.
Oh, Terry Tate. Terry Tate was the man. Yeah,
Terry Tate. So yeah, that one was really, really good. And then the most recent one I like. This one was just a little bit ridiculous, but the Tide ad with David Harbour from Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
When they just go over and take over, like, I remember the Old Spice, he's on the horse with the Old Spice dude. And he was like, oh, it's like, hey, no, this is the Tide ad. And then the dude was like, okay, get off my horse. So just that ad was ridiculously stupid, but it was funny because it just kept dragging on and on and on. So, hey, David Harbour's got a great sense of humor, man. That guy's made a career for himself, starting out from Stranger Things. So, low-key, pretty funny guy when he wants to be, and that commercial was hilarious. So, I want to ask you a question. Who you think will be I know you see all these teasers. When that timeout break happen or whatever goes into the football game, Super Bowl, who's gonna be the brand to get the first commercial? There's gonna be a parlay party on this too.
Yeah. The NFL is weird, man, because like I feel like anybody that has money can just buy that spot. They're going to give their property to whoever has the most money. I think we're at a point now. It's probably going to be either YouTube TV or like YouTube or something like that, or one of the beer companies. I just think the NFL they're so wound in with YouTube now with the Sunday Ticket being all tied into that. So I feel like it'd be something like that. I mean, fuck, who knows? It'll probably be a fucking Donald Trump commercial. Who the fuck knows?
Hey, won't be surprised if it's an Elon Musk or commercial, SpaceX or something, just because he got the money. But
exactly,
I'm either guessing that or probably Amazon.
Yeah,
Amazon's got a buttload of money too. But it was like one of the popular brands. I probably would have went with probably Doritos would be the first one to go. Probably a chip brand, Frito-Lay.
I think it's gonna be a beer. I think it's one of these beer brands. I know, like there was a commercial I saw where they're supposed to unveil the lost Beckham brother, and then I think Stella Artois has one too. They got a big one. So I don't know. I mean, it's just weird that the NFL has gone to the point where like those are the big companies that are like advertising for their audience. You know what I mean? Like it's not just Budweiser, not just Bud Heavy. Like just get you a Bud. I'm sure we'll probably see some Bud Light ads. I know Post Malone and Shane Gillis have been working on some commercials.
Oh, nice.
Just whoever has the most star power, probably. I mean, it's going to be just a who's who of people trying to sell me something on TV. So we'll see.
Sounds good. All right, let's get into it. I always like to do like a little icebreaker when I come. We're supposed to have a panel, but one of our guys had to take a step back. So, hey, me and Paul still run this. We got this.
We're here.
No big deal. So, hey, we just put on a jersey and say, "Put me in, coach." Right?
That's it. Just adds to my value, bro. Makes me. That's it.
That's right, man. You're not getting traded, sir.
That's it.
I can reassure you, you're not getting traded. So, as GM has always been very truthful before, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's describe. Let's start with the Chiefs. Let's describe their path to how they got here. Of course, in the playoffs, they had a bye, and then they won the divisional round and played the Texans and beat them 23-14. And then they won a close game against the Bills, 32-29. So, what got the Chiefs back here to the Super Bowl as they trying to do a three-peat here?
I mean, I think it's the things that, we kind of figured could get them here. I mean, one, they have Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback, and that guy just has the it factor. When you need a drive, need a big play, he's going to make that play happen. Their defense is one of those things that just keeps getting overlooked. I think people really overlook their defense. But for me, it's their coaching up and down. I mean, Andy Reid, offensive mastermind, scheme genius, and then Steve Spagnuolo on the defensive side. Just two guys who can control a game from the sidelines and just have you in just mental warfare for 4 quarters. Like it's tough, and a lot of times, like coaches can lose you games with some of the decisions that they make. But I think when you have essentially an extra coach on the field and Patrick Mahomes, it just makes a lot of those decisions easier. And those guys have been together for so long that I don't know. It's just they operate differently than anyone I've seen since probably those Patriot teams that went on a run in the 2000s. Just because like they're never pressing, they're never worried. If they get down, it's just snap by snap. They know what they have to do, and it's just an impressive thing to watch. And just Andy Reid's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, and he's doing all. They're doing all this with a makeshift wide receiving core, and pretty much running backs by committee. So they're not the same Chiefs offense that got them to this potential three-peat, which I think makes it all that much more impressive.
Yeah, 1%, man. Just to add to that, this is a Chiefs team that just consistency. They just stay consistent in what they run, what they do. They 10-0 in games decided by 7 points or less. And so they just find ways to win. As you mentioned, the receiver core that they have, no 1,000-yard receiver that they have. Rasheed Rice went down with a knee injury, been on injury reserve. So just a middle pack offense that they have. There was 15 in the league in total in points. Pat Mahomes has been doing what he can with what he does have available. 26 touchdowns on the season and really just find ways to win the game, completing passes in a timely manner, finding the right players that's open, getting the ball, not holding on to the ball. He just make timely plays, and this seems to be one of the things that he does well. So this defense that you mentioned as well, too, led by Chris Jones, who had 5 sacks, 37 tackles, 9 tackles for losses. That'll be important in this game that they got playing coming up here. And then Trent McDuffie, who came from the Bills, 59 tackles and 2 interceptions and 13 passes deflected, which helped lead this 4th best scoring defense that they have since the whole season. So so the way they got here is winning ugly games. Sometimes you rather have a ugly win than a beautiful loss. And Kansas City has done that and deservingly had the number 1 seed in the AFC. So just it's how they got here, man. And they really found ways to win and did in the postseason and got home field. So it's hard to go in the Arrowhead and get a victory. And go to their turf and try to beat them. Basically, good luck. So now on the other side, the Eagles. The Eagles was in the wild card. They defeated the Packers 20-10. It's a divisional round against the Rams. That game was pretty close, 28-22. Then they played the Redskins and blow them out pretty much 55-23. Add on to how the Philadelphia Eagles got to the Super Bowl.
Compliment to the New York Giants. I mean, literally just one of the best just offseason acquisitions you could ask for, and for it to come to fruition so quickly, like for him to be that impactful immediately in year one. I mean, pretty much from week one, the way he just fit in there, the way that offensive line blocks for him, the weapons Philly has, especially at the wide receiver with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. They're always going to look to run, and for the last few years, it's always just kind of been Jalen Hurts has been their running game. So you get him a generational talent at running back. And, you go on a 9-10 game win streak in the middle of the season to put yourself in a good spot. He goes down towards the end with a concussion. I don't even think it matters. I just think it's just, they're going to go as far as Saquon and that defense can get them. That defense is really, really good. I'll admit that defense is incredible. So when you're not giving up points and you're controlling time of possession by running the football, I mean, you're building yourself up for playoff football anyway, all season long. So it doesn't surprise me they got here. Like I said, I was picking against them most of the way, but they were the better team, and the way the draw played out for them. Going up against Jordan Love, and the Rams game was tough. I thought the Rams could have got him, but that was really the only true test for him, because you went up against Jordan Love in the wild card round, and then you got Jaden Daniels in the NFC Championship round. So you're going up against a guy who's hasn't really been there, and then someone whose first career start in the postseason. It's just a lot to ask. So, the luck of the draw was good for them. They had a nice road in, and here we are. Now they're going for the Super Bowl. We get the Super Bowl rematch from 2 years ago, and the Eagles are a significantly better football team than they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, 100%, man. The Eagles started out with let's just say this. I think a lot of us, or a lot of people, the way the Lions started out this season, it was Lions, and at least in this division, the Lions, the Vikings got hot, and they both were like 15-2. So one of the team had to get a wild card position. So, and it was them. So, but a lot of people pin like, okay, well, this feels like it's the Lions' year. Playoff football is a funny game, and this sudden death is one of those that can just break hearts.
Any given Sunday, bro. Any given Sunday.
Yeah. Eagles Pav, like I said, shout out to them. But their season, they started out 2-2. So they had a reality check when they played the Bucks in week 4, and they got smashed 33-16. Then they had a bye week, and then after that, they just went on a roll. They won.
They were calling for Nick Sirianni's head after that start. They were talking about all kinds of crazy stuff, like get him out of here. And
there was a lot of talk, like you said, let him go. And they went on this, like you said, 10-game winning streak. They went 12 out of their 13, and if Jalen Hurts didn't have a head injury, they probably could have won that game against the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of could have, would have, did us, but
for sure.
At one point they was really pushing Detroit to get that top seed. And then as you mentioned about their defense, man, their defense, second in points allowed and first in yards allowed. Defense led by All-Pro linebacker Zach Braun, 9-3 solo tackles, 11 tackles for a loss, 3.5 sacks. And then Jalen Carter, who has 4.5 sacks on the season, 42 combined tackles, and 16 quarterback hits. This is someone you need to hit the quarterback. Jalen Carter has done that successfully. He need to find a way to get to Patrick Mahomes in this game here. But man, like the way the Eagles have done this, a lot of people just really in the NFC was talking about the Vikings and the Lions. I mean, the Eagles got talked about a little bit, but I feel like I heard more about the Vikings and the Lions than I did about the Eagles. Yeah, they was winning, but we'll just see what was going to happen in the playoffs with the Eagles. And on the whole, they went ahead and then they sent a statement to their rival in the Commanders. At any point, they could have took the break off, but when you got a division rival, I don't expect anything less. You put the pause on them, and that's what they did to the Redskins. So, what's the plan of action for each team? You can start the Chiefs.
It's just an interesting dynamic because, like, when you break it down, like on paper, you have both rosters side by side. Philly has the better defense, pretty much all around. I mean, you have Chandler, you have Chris Jones on the defensive line, and McDuffie as a corner, but overall defense, Philly has the better defense. Philly's got the better wide receivers. They're in a wide receiver better than A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. With Dallas Goedert in there, that combo of three, if you're Kansas City, you got Kelsey and, against that defense, you don't know who else you're going to have. You don't know how explosive Xavier Worthy can be. Then you got DeAndre Hopkins and Juju Smith-Schuster. Like it's a weird dynamic. And then obviously at the running back position, you have Saquon Barkley versus Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. So it's Saquon trumps both of them. So really the only like advantage the Chiefs have is in their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. And I believe in their coaching. I think Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo are better coaches than the Eagles have on their side. So it's just a matter of talent versus brains, I guess. Like just who's, you know what I mean? And I have no reason to go against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes because like no one's really given me a reason to. But it just seems like this is the first time, especially coming into a Super Bowl, where the Chiefs are significantly like they're the underdog on paper essentially. When you look at just the talent spread across the football field, So I just think it's going to really come down to that chess match of we're going to see Kansas City probably play positional football. They're not going to be afraid to punt. They're not going to be too aggressive. They're going to try to control the clock as much as they can. So we'll probably see them run it more than probably they do normally. We're going to see a lot of probably Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, maybe even a little bit of what's his name, P. Ryan. Just get everybody the ball. Just keep the clock running as much as you can, because like we've seen, Philly can score on one handoff. You give it to Saquon, he could take it 80. So if you want to get into a matchup, just keep giving them the ball, because Jalen Hurts, if there is a weak spot, probably it's just the fact that we haven't really seen Jalen Hurts in this position to where like you're going to want him to beat you. You're not going to want Saquon to beat you. So you got to just put yourself in positions defensively where Jalen Hurts has to make plays. And, can he make those plays? He's been vulnerable to the turnover in the past. He tries to kind of make plays that aren't there sometimes. So I think if you're Kansas City, it's just trying to pressure Jalen Hurts and try to keep it to those third and mediums to where they kind of have to throw and get a little one dimensional. If it's third and short, you already know what they're doing. So if it's 3rd and 3 or less, there's going to be a run or a tush push or something happening. So if you're the Chiefs, you got to control the line of scrimmage as much as you possibly can and try to let Jalen Hurts be the X factor that beats you. If you lose to Jalen Hurts, then you lose, I guess.
Yeah. For me, man, it's on the Chiefs side. They really did a good job of getting to the quarterback, or really just kind of like making sure the quarterback didn't really take off on them. Of course, Josh Allen, who's a very fantastic running quarterback, getting the short yard, being able to pick up short yardage and first downs and all that. They really did a good job making sure he didn't really beat him that way. And then the Chiefs, CJ Stroud, who is a quarterback who's out the pocket scrambling, be able to move and throw on the fly. CJ Stroud got sacked 8 times against this Chiefs defense. So it's one of those that for at least when it comes to the Chiefs, they need to, on their offense side of the ball, they need to run the ball very well. I know they got Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, but they need to figure out how to really time these drives and eat a lot of clock. Pat Mahomes is fantastic at getting first downs. But sacks are not a strength for this defense of the Chiefs. 19 of the season, but something clicked. Like I said, they got figured into quarterbacks, but so maybe defensive wise, they just kind of kicked it another gear when they got to the postseason. And for a team that don't force a lot of turnovers, Pat Mahomes only got 0 interception in the postseason. So you got to figure a way how to get turnovers, if it's fumbles, or Pat Mahomes not going to throw any interceptions, or he's very methodical how he plays. The reason why he's here. So Eagles on the flip side, got to sack Mahomes. Got to, once again, Mahomes know how to extend the play, move his legs, do timely runs. We've seen him do it again in this postseason, but he's got to go against Nolan Smith, who has 4 sacks and 4 tackles, 4 losses in this postseason. So, to me, the Chief offense won't. I think the match number for them for the defense of the Eagles is 400. You saw the Rams had like 400 and some yards and made it real close. Once again, I don't think the Chiefs offense will get that high with that many yards, but they did get 368 yards against the Bills. Pretty close. So they're up there that pretty high. Odds are that the Chiefs are probably going to win this game if they're that high. So as we mentioned about Barkley and Hurts, they need to figure a way to extend play with their legs. 31st downs in the playoff. If Barkley can stay within 5 to 6 yards per carry, he's got 6.7 in the playoffs. Eagles should feel good about their chance again of winning this game. So that's kind of like my short and notes for how these teams need to pretty much.
Yeah, this is one of those games like you mentioned like total yards, and like this is one of those games where like you could look at like time of possession, but like that can be skewed too if the game gets out of hand or if somebody scores quick or whatever. So it's like these are two really good teams. So I highly doubt that there'll be like a huge discrepancy in time of possession unless someone's turning the ball over. So I mean, probably look at I would probably look at like first downs. I think whoever gets the most first downs just shows who's moving the ball, because it's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a lot of just long drives, double-digit play drives, just playing smart football, trying to take care of the ball. And if someone happens to make a mistake, one of these teams is going to capitalize on it. So based off of that, like the Chiefs don't make a ton of mistakes. So it's going to be a good one. I'm actually excited for it. It's going to be hopefully it's a pretty, competitive game there.
Yeah. Now you are right though. Just on paper, besides the coach and quarterback, the Eagles have a better team.
Yeah.
The roster up and down just looks better.
At every position.
Yeah.
Like literally.
So that's why I'm saying the Eagles got a talent to win this game, but Pat Mahomes is the scale or equivalent that he is in the Richter scale of a quarterback is ridiculous. And then you mentioned Andy Reid versus, how he's coming, he won with the Eagles too. He was the Eagles coach at one time and was a very popular coach within the Eagles organization. So, yeah, man. So it's one of those that, Nick Sirianni, now he's going to go up against this guy who's a mastermind and manipulating plays and scrimmages and just coverages and all that. So it's just going to be a whole chess match, man. It's one of those that if Eagles do lose, and you're just going to see there's going to be certain plays and certain scrimmages that Andy Reid just kind of got over,
Yeah, you don't want to lose the Super Bowl. I don't think you want to get out coached and lose the Super Bowl. Like, I would hope that Nick Sirianni has a playbook drawn up to where, he keeps it pretty straightforward, doesn't try to do anything too crazy, and if the ball bounces a certain way, like there's nothing you can do about it, but you just can't get into a coach off. I think with the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's the problem I think a lot of people have. And you'll see you see it with the Lions too. I mean, sometimes Dan Campbell just tries to outcoach somebody, you know what I mean, and it ends up costing them in the long run. So there are some guys who just can't outcoach. Some guys are just smarter than you. You might be a great motivator, and you might be all these things that can get your team to a certain point, but when you get down to the final, the final 6, final 4, final 2, like coaching is huge. And when you have a guy like Andy Reid who's just been there before, they're going for the three-peat, never been done before. It's a lot, and I know he knows that, and I know he knows that this dynasty doesn't have a lot of time left, and he's gonna do everything in his power to give them an opportunity to win.
100%, man. All right, who's your S factors for both teams?
I think for Philly, I think I was gonna go to Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts has to play a game similarly like he played against the Commanders. Now I know the Commanders' defense is atrocious. Their run defense is really bad. But he just has to take care of the ball, get it to his weapons, make smart throws. I mean, he did a lot of just, short throws to A.J. Brown, let your playmakers make plays. You got Saquon in the backfield. He's going to be able to bail you out. He can catch out of the backfield. The quarterback sneak's always there when you need it. But I just think he has to just not try to outplay Patrick Mahomes, just not get in his own head, just play his game. And, he should be okay. Once he has to start pressing, if they get down early or something, he has to try to stretch the field or make a play. You always got to worry about that. But, like any youngish quarterback, you got to pressure him, like you said. You got to get him kind of flustered a little bit and get him out of his comfort zone. So for me, it's definitely going to be Jalen Hurts for Philly. And, for Kansas City, I'm going to go Travis Kelce. I think if there's ever a time where they're going to need Travis Kelce, especially against that defense, it's going to be this game. They're going to need him on some third and shorts. They're going to need him to try to work the middle, open up the middle of the field. Just be that threat that you can get the middle of the field opened up, have those linebackers drop back to give you an opportunity to run the football. I mean, if you're not running the football well, and they don't have to stack the box, and then that just basically eliminates Travis Kelce. The Eagles defense is too good. They're smart enough to try to let someone else beat them, and there's no other weapon capable of that. You can try to run all the little gimmicky plays to Xavier Worthy that you want, but it's not going to win you a Super Bowl. So I just think that there's a lot of talks with him, and he's big in the media now, and he doesn't know how many more years he's got. This could be his last hurrah for all we know. So I mean, he literally did absolutely nothing against Buffalo, and that I doubt that happens 2 weeks in a row. But playoff Trav, they're going to need you more than ever now. Need you to get in the end zone. Need you to get a bunch of targets. Half dozen catches, something. But he's got to make plays because Buffalo. The Buffalo defense isn't the Eagles defense, and Buffalo held him in check. So I would imagine that there's going to be some schemes to try to get him the ball early and kind of establish him into the offense early on, whether it be through screens, through whatever. But he's going to be a guy that they're going to need, and they're going to have to ride him just because we don't know how effective their run game is going to be. So the best extension to a running game is a strong tight end. And if he can get you those, third and mediums, that's going to be huge to extend drive. So, yeah, man, Travis Kelce, do your thing, brother.
All right. My X factors is for the Eagles to be A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You got to make a few big plays. When Jay Hurts had the opportunities to get you the ball, to extend these drives and keep that Chief defense honest, because you already know that they're going to find a way to gear in and get on Saquon Barkley. So there's a few plays that these two receivers need to have. And then McDuffie's going to be guarding one of them. So the other one's got to find a way to get open and find timely spots in the zone, or if it needs to be spots in the field, to make sure that there's a blanket there for Hurts to get the ball to if an opportunity presents itself like that. For the Chiefs, I'm going to go Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt. Eagles kept their running game in check. Pretty much when they let these other teams try to run. So they need to make sure that with Kareem Hunt, he needs to find timely runs, because as in the past, you don't mind Pat Mahomes throwing the ball 45, 50 times, and it's not Pat Mahomes the problem that I have him throwing the ball that many times. It's his weapons that he has available. As you mentioned, Travis Kelce was pretty much a no-show. And then, his receivers that he do have, at times, they do make timely drops. And so if Pat Mahomes do find these receivers, and there's been times that he did find these receivers in good spots, and he give them the ball, they don't catch the ball. So it's really up to this running game, including Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, to find their spots and make these downs more easy for Pat Mahomes if a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. So if it's a Pat Mahomes run, if it's a Pat Mahomes pass, using the tight end, Travis Kelce, or do they run the ball again? So you have more options, obviously, with a 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3 versus a 3rd and 9 and 3rd and 8. So the running game is pivotal, right, for the Chiefs. So Kareem Hunt goes off a little bit and can keep them honest. Might could be a big deal and something to monitor in the Super Bowl. So, all right. So it's funny because both of these teams that are in the Super Bowl, me and Paul don't like them. We do not like these teams. Him for the Eagles, me for the Chiefs. Me being a Broncos fan, can't stand them. Can't stand them. And I already know how Paul feel about the Eagles. He got the Eagles a TikTok on his neck. I've been lucky not
to have
neck. It'll be all right. I've been lucky not to have a Chief fans at my neck, but I'm pretty sure this next 7 might have them at my neck. I ain't got much of a neck anyway, so come on, Chief fans, bring it. So, Paul, give a hate speech for the Philadelphia Eagles and let them TikToks know. The Eagles TikToks know.
Philadelphia. Where do I begin? I've hated you since I was a child. Not for any reason other than just the fact that you existed. I hate your baseball team. I hate your basketball team. And I hate your football team more than probably all of that put together with every ounce of my being. The only thing about the state of Pennsylvania that I do enjoy is probably The Office. And It's Always Sunny. Those are probably the only 2 things that I enjoy the most that have come from Philadelphia. Besides, obviously, our founding fathers and whatnot. But we see where that's gotten us. That doesn't matter anymore. We're erasing them from our history, so it doesn't really matter anymore. But you're a big sports town. I get it. And, being a guy who grew up in the Northeast and, I'm from New York, so I understand you're going to be like, oh, well, New York people aren't much better. Probably so. But at the same time, like, Philly's going to burn their city down whether they win or lose. So it doesn't really make a difference to me. We gifted you the best running back in the league. So I'm happy for you for that. I'm glad you're going to pay my guy. He deserves to be paid and be taken care of. So thank you for that. But just because you adopted a child doesn't make you a great parent. I don't mind the Rocky movies. I know Kevin was going on a Rocky rant last week. I do admire the Rocky films. I don't necessarily know if that's worth a statue in your city. But I guess if you have no other sports figures to make statues of, what are you going to do? Besides make tiny little Allen Iverson statues and put them in the garden of your basketball arena. But in all seriousness, fuck Philly. I want to say good luck and all that stuff, but I can't. I'm not allowed. My body just won't let me say it. So I'm not going to say go Chiefs either, but whatever. We're here. Fuck Joel Embiid. Fuck Bryce Harper. And yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. Well, let me go ahead and take over for the Chiefs part. I can't stand Kansas City.
Good barbecue,
bro. I can't stand the Raiders. And the Chargers just been sucking since our division. But the Chiefs, I just godly cannot stand. These entitled fans have been spoiled for so long with Pat Mahomes. They got one. I do admit that this is probably going to be one of the better quarterbacks, one of the best quarterbacks going this game. But goodness gracious, the guy do sound like something off Sesame Street. And he sounds like Kenny Powers, long lost cousin. Everything about them now that they got Taylor Swift on the screen now just bugs me even more. I have been not liking the Chiefs since I was a teenage boy. I remember going to a camp and I met a Kansas City fan. And I told him, I don't like your team. And at that time, they had Priest Holmes as a fantastic running back. Tony Gonzalez couldn't stand his face. And by all goodness, they drafted the quarterback that's been my division, the bane of my existence. The Chiefs have paid off the refs, made these timely calls for them. And by all means, they're in the running for a three-peat. Every inch of fiber of my soul hates that. I remember my friend who lives in Oklahoma City asked me, Cortez, you want to go to a Chiefs game? Absolutely fucking not. I would never go to Arrowhead. Never. Now I watch them play the Broncos in Denver. You won't catch me watching the Chiefs out of Arrowhead. Travis Kelce. Let me remind you, Travis Kelce, because guess what? I got on an Orlando Magic hat. We did beat your Cavaliers back in 2009. Go ahead and retire after here. And when the Eagles are done with you and they run all over you, I hope you retire. Go do your podcast with your brother, which he's the coolest brother, by the way.
Jeez.
Kansas City. I wake up and I smile when y'all lose. And it won't be, I know y'all got all the way here. And this is the chance I was waiting for. Y'all get all the way here. And I hope y'all lose on Sunday. Fuck the Chiefs. There, I said it. While I'm hating on that, I sip my Topo Chico. And it must be the thing that I don't like the Seminoles either because they do that. That shit give me nightmares. Once again, fly, Eagles, fly. Go, Birds. I'm rooting for the Eagles. Finish the job, Eagles.
ESELSES, Eagles.
Go ahead. You want to say the rest, Paul? Because I know you don't like the Eagles. Suck.
I just saw that thing. Like some guy in a video was like ESLGES. All right, that's all I need to know, man. That's all I need to know.
Burning question, Paul. Who wins this game? Super Bowl. Who win this game?
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt for me to say this, but I think it's gonna be the Kansas City Chiefs. For your sake, I think it's the Kansas City Chiefs. I just think that the way their season's been, there's just some higher power, whether it's the Swifties, whether it's the whatever it is, there's something in Kansas City right now that's just allowed them to get here and, trying to be the first team to ever three-peat. So there's history there. I just can't look at history being stopped by the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm gonna go with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay. Like I said, I'm going to Eagles. And I feel like their running game is going to really do a good job. Picking apart, I think Saquon Barkley's going to have a big day against them. I do think this game's going to be a little closer. It's going to be pretty close. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch all around. Just like I said, everything on paper except the quarterback and the coach aligns against Philly. And I feel like I'm playing a numbers game here to feel like that Philly's going to find a way to get it done. They owed them from two Super Bowls ago, and the Eagles got better. And this is a team that we saw with Kansas City Chiefs that we thought took a step back. They still won 15 games. But the way they won some of these games was, man, they shouldn't have won that game. But they did. So, really seeing that the Chiefs going to be able to pull one out here again. So I feel like that I'm going to go ahead and go with the Eagles to come and do the unthinkable. So finish the job for me, Philly. I got the Eagles winning 28-24. Eagles. All right. I'm looking. All right. So
I'm gonna take if we're laying points, I'm gonna take Kansas City 30-21.
30-21. Okay. Oh, so this was supposed to be just a Super Bowl podcast. Just highlight what we got going on here for the Super Bowl. But something happened over the weekend. And a lot of us on the East Coast was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Luka Doncic. It had to be tweeted by Shams that this is for real. I am not joking. He really means this. But Luka Doncic got traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. There was Luka Doncic, Massey Keebler, and Markieff Morris for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round draft pick that's going to be available in 2029. But where were you when this trade happened? And please break it down. We both got a lot of on this.
Based off my Whoop app, I think I was in REM sleep when it happened. But it's the only thing that's been on my news feed for the past 2 days. Obviously happening over the weekend, so obviously Monday morning it's all everybody's talking about. And I think for the first people are sending me memes, and most of them they just know that I talk about sports, so they're just going to send me memes and just see what I think about them and think they're funny or whatever. But that's how monumental something like this is people who don't even necessarily deeply follow basketball are kind of like it's one of those things where it's in non-basketball terms, what is this trade? And honestly, I can't even fathom this. I would have thought that we'd have a better shot at Donald Trump taking over Greenland than the Mavericks of trading Luka Doncic. And yet here we are. When you break it down, it still doesn't really make a whole lot of sense from a Maverick standpoint. I don't know if you saw the press conference. That was one of the most cringy press conferences I've ever seen when he was explaining the thought process behind it and how him and Jason Kidd they know what it takes to build a championship and what their goals are. And Jason Kidd looked like he did not want to be there. He did not look happy.
No.
So that's crazy to me. And, it's just weird because Anthony Davis is having a fantastic season. Luka's been out for a while now with an injury.
Caption.
And it's only 25 years old. Hasn't even hit the prime of his career yet. There's still so much there, and he's 5-time All NBA. Guy has more All NBAs than Steph Curry. And Steph Curry's been in the league for over a decade. This is a generational talent that doesn't come around very often, and you just secretly are just trade him away without the world knowing. It's just you and the Lakers, the only people that know. And there's a lot of things on the back end that we can sit here and talk about. I'll let you go and talk about this, but we'll get into other stuff later. But it was just mind boggling to see a trade like this, because I don't know if I've ever seen, or I can remember two superstar guys being traded at the trade deadline in the middle of a season. I don't think that's ever really happened before to this level. So it's pretty monumental. And I think it's a sign for things to come. I think the NBA is changing. I think it's always been kind of a players' league, And I think the owners and the general managers are really now this basically sets a tone to the league that nobody's untouchable, and we are in charge, and you do not dictate our organization, and it's going to have like huge ramifications going forward. So that's the kind of thing that I'm looking forward to, is like, what does this lead to long term? Because if you can trade your franchise guy before he even hits his prime, nobody's safe.
Yeah. I was sound asleep, and I kind of woke up a little bit because I was cooking some chili for my associates. And I checked my phone. I'm like, why do I got 28 text messages and a few missed calls? I didn't know what was going on. So curiosity, me checking, see what's going on. And it's like, Luka Doncic got traded to the Lakers. Stop playing. There's no way. There's no way. And so I go to the tweet, which now currently, Sham's tweet got 93 million views on it. That's probably been the most viewed tweet in like the past few years of that. And I said, this is real. This is really real. So, okay, well, Luka got traded to the Lakers for who? So I'm thinking, okay, let's take a look and see who he got traded for. Anthony Davis. Okay, they got to start back a little older. Then I'm like, Max Christie in a first-round draft pick. That's it? There was rumors that they could have had Dalton Connect and 2 more first-round draft picks. When Luka is up available, this type of talent, when he's up for trade, you're supposed to wring a franchise dry. There's no chance in hell that this happened. And apparently these two have a pre-relationship at Nike, who I'm talking about, Nico Harris and Rob Pelinka, the GM or executive for the Lakers. They have a pre-existing relationship where Rob Pelinka was working with Nike, and I think Nico Harrison was like a scout or something. They worked for Nike. And not to make this dude available for the league. Executives around the league is pissed because no one knew this dude was available. Danny Ainge just came out and found out that he did not know he contributed to this. That's how secret this trade was. He was in the middle of the trade to get some assets. He didn't know Luka was part of this trade. How do you tell another party that who's not involved in the trade? And Danny Ainge got Danny Ainge? Like, how did that happen? So I'm going to process this because now stuff is coming out, and it's been a few days. Everything's been kind of getting the details. So not only do you scroll, listen, I've been big on having this be a pro player league, and you need to be able to establish a relationship with your agents and your players and stuff like that, just to set your franchise in a positive precedence whenever you need to have these talks or free agent negotiations. Going forward, you just spurned the grid for Luka. Luka could have had a super match. The super match he was eligible for 5 years and $345 million. He lives in Texas, so Texas is a state tax income, no income tax state. So he makes a lot of money. So now you just ruined the player relationship to send him to the Lakers, and you go to California that get taxed differently. So he done lost money, and he done lost his eligibility for a super match. Dallas, what are you doing? You have yet to send out a tweet thanking this man. Dallas fans has to be going nuts. This fucking sucks, dude. The Lakers have always found a way to just get the talent. And for the Mavs, this doesn't happen often. You had Dirk Nowitzki, and you transitioned to Luka Doncic. Not many franchises have the chance to transition to a generational superstar. Dallas Mavericks had this. Another team that had done this in the past in the football was the Green Bay Packers, when you went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. And you go ahead and you trade this guy. Mark Cuban he's not a majority owner anymore. He owns 23% of the team's stake. So when they asked him, because Chandler Parsons texted him and asked him, what do you think about this? He was speechless. He can't say anything because guess what? He still helped run that franchise, and he can't talk crap about the current owners that is the majority owners it's probably some breach of contract that he's got to be very short answering questions. But Mark Cuban said he would never trade that guy. He would never trade that guy. And for y'all not to make him available and to bring him to the Lakers of all teams. And Jeannie Buss had a previous relationship with Nico Harrison. And so what does remind me of, Paul? I'm gonna tell you this because this happened. And for a Magic fan to give me PTSD with this, because Rob Hennigan traded Victor Oladipo. Now, I'm not saying, listen, this is Luka Doncic. I'm just saying on a little sale of this, they traded Victor Oladipo and a first-round draft pick that ended up being Domantas Sabonis for Serge Ibaka, who was with the Magic for half a season before we traded him to Toronto. Rob Hennigan got fired. And guess what he worked for now? He works for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So you think that trade has not been settled with some kind of collusion or some kind of – this smells fishy to me. Adam said, what are you doing? David Stern be rolling around his grave. He vetoed a trade before when the New Orleans Pelicans at the time didn't have an owner, and you try to trade someone, Chris Paul, to the Lakers. You can't trade somebody that don't have an owner, who don't have a say in their franchise. Luka was pissed, man. Luka found out the trade. He just bought a home a week before, and he was in tears. Paul, this is a 25-year-old generational talent. And yes, I know he makes mistakes. I know the way he acted in the NBA Finals wasn't his best, but he's 25 years old. He's still young. He's going to make mistakes. You deal with that with a generational star. You just don't trade that away. Dallas Mavericks had a generational basketball player, and they went from Dirk Nowitzki to Luka Doncic, and this is how you reward those fans. And all because y'all trying to tank the team's value so you can move to Las Vegas. You're trying to move that team from the fourth largest market in the nation. Dallas is the fourth largest market in the nation, and you're trying to move it to Las Vegas because these owners have state and have stuff set in Vegas. This trade reeks, man. Lakers, you won this trade. You won this trade. I know y'all hear about, he came out of shape. He was at 270 pounds. He have a drinking problem. Ooh, they done motivated Luka now. And I hate that I got to watch him in a Lakers jersey. I hate it. Now, they still got a problem with the basketball team. They got to build around him. And that's probably going to take some time. But boy, the Lakers they got gifted a star, Paul. I'm hot about this, man. I'm so hot about this trade.
The Lakers have historically just kind of been one of those teams where when it's time to transition, they always find a way to transition. You know what I mean? They go from Wilt to Kareem to Magic. Then you kind of you have your little rough patch. Then you get a Kobe Bryant in the draft. You get a Shaquille O'Neal. Kobe carries you a long way. Then you get LeBron James, and now LeBron James is on the way out, and you get a Luka Doncic for essentially nothing. And that's the craziest part about it is like you got a 25-year-old, superstar for a guy in his 30s who has problems with injuries, still a dominant big man, but he's not the talent that Luka is. Like Luka is a game-changing talent. But you just gotta feel for it a little bit because, like I said before, it's crazy when you factor in all the small things, like the fact that he was eligible for a supermax. Now he can only get a regular max contract now, so he's losing out on like $116 million.
It's nuts. Absolutely.
Not to mention, like you said, all the taxes and things he'll have to pay in California. But like I said before, I think this is literally the NBA kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit and looking at how the NFL kind of does business. And the players have too much power in the NBA. And, you have to, at some point, let these players know that they're players. Like, they can't hold you at gunpoint for contracts and for money and all this stuff. So, I mean, if you can get value for them now, or what you perceive as value, like you let them go. And it's a shame to see because the NBA could potentially get really, really weird now. But like this kind of stuff's been going on all the time. Like you have all these guys that when certain guys hit free agency, they all just kind of team up and they go places and they do all this stuff kind of behind the scenes and we don't really know about it. And then one guy goes here, the next thing you know, you have a Miami Heat situation, or you have some other big three somewhere else. Now, obviously, like that blueprint, I don't think necessarily works in the NBA anymore. But if you can land a big star that makes people want to come to your franchise, I mean, aside whatever Dallas, however they felt about Luka, like I feel like a lot of people would want to play with him. I think he makes anyone he plays with better. I feel like if I was a free agent big, or if I was a wing, or if I was somebody like that, like I'd love to have Luka on my team. He's going to drive and kick, get me the ball. He's going to demand a lot of attention, get me a lot more shots. But it's just a crazy thing, just how it all went down. Just like the fact that 28 other teams had no idea. And that's the crazy part, is just that no one knew. Nobody had. Everybody pretty much saw the same tweet that we all saw after midnight on Sunday morning, and wondering like, wait, what? How? Like the player reactions are some of the best ones that I've ever seen. They're just like, nah, this ain't real. Nah, what? No way, no way. But here we are. I mean, I think this could be like the end of like Supermax contracts. I feel like the Supermax for most teams doesn't end as good as it starts anyways. I think a lot of these guys end up getting Supermax deals, and then they sign these massive we saw what happened with Minnesota. In Minnesota, they had 3 guys on like huge contracts. And then you gotta move Towns. Gobert's finally expiring a little bit. And then you have to think about the future. And it's a matter of like, do we have the capital to lock up Anthony Edwards long term? Someone like, you have an up and coming guy like a Jaden McDaniels. Like, you want to keep this guy around. So you have to invest in the franchise. And if these Supermax deals aren't going to allow you the cap or the space to bring other people to make your team better, like what's the point? Like, what's the point of giving Luka a $300-something million contract if this is who you are for the next 5 years? You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to get better at some point. Now, they were in the NBA Finals last year, so I don't think they're in any kind of rebuilding situation, but you do have Kyrie Irving, who's aging. So it's like, what do you do with Kyrie? Like, you extend him, you give him a nice little contract, you give him Anthony Davis, put the pieces around him, like, see what happens. But the body language in Dallas just seems real weird. And I wouldn't want to be in that locker room. I wouldn't want to be a part of that franchise right now. Even the head coach looks like he doesn't want to be there. And that's usually a scary thought when the head coach is looking next to the GM of kind of like, what? Like, why? Like, what are we doing? But meanwhile, like the Lakers are going to Laker. Like, I don't think they got better right away. I think this is a deal where they're kind of, they have more. Now. Yeah, they got more deals they have to try to make. I mean, they now have 0 bigs in the Western Conference, a team that they've already kind of, are shooting for the play-in anyway, best case scenario, and now they don't have any bigs. So they're going to have to try to find a budget big between now and Thursday. And even then, like, what trade pieces do you have left that you're willing to give up? Because if you weren't willing to give up like Austin Reeves or a Dalton Connect for a Luka Doncic, like, who are you giving those people up for? And that's the kind of thing now, like, that's playing out to where it's just like, where is the value? What can you get? Who do you want? Because the Lakers do have people they could trade, but they just seem to not want to trade them. And I guess if you have a homie in another city for another team and you guys are close and you can make some secret deal happen with a handshake and, a fancy dinner somewhere, more power to you. But yeah, man, the NBA is about to get real different, I think, in the next like 3 to 5 years.
It's just nuts, man, because you had a deal in place where you had Duncan and 2 first-round draft picks, and then Anthony Davis waived no trade clause, and so it just screams weird. But as far as like looking at the team, so the Mavericks sit 9th right now, I believe, in the West, and so they got to play catch up here. And so within the next 2 or 3 years, you pretty much got to win a title with this core. You just got to win a title with this core, and that fan base. It sucks, man, for them. I've been there as a Magic fan. I know how it is to lose generational stars. It sucks, man. Like losing Shaq was devastating. So what these fans are going through is agony. It's horrible. But the Lakers, from a standpoint, this is Luka's team now. It's not LeBron's team. This is Luka's team. They had to put it to you. LeBron's 40. This is Luka's team. And now the thing I hate about this trade, too, just from a small market standpoint, I saw a tweet today saying that, the Warriors been calling everybody. And they even inquired about Paul Banchero. Get the fuck out of here. This is why I hate trades like this, because guess what? You just now setting the notion that, oh, the Lakers can do this, so now I'm going to go ahead and try to get these stars and try to get the Hornets, and which would try to get their star, LaMelo Ball, and try to get Orlando's star, which is Paul Banchero. This is the precedent that you set, that you go ahead and do this now, that you allowed to set Nico Harrison. You just did this. So, and Paul, to your point, I think you are right with the whole, we probably going to see this, as shocking as this was, it's probably going to be normal because of the open cap rule. Mm-hmm. Teams are now, the reason for the Supermax is to be able to keep your star if you got to pay into that level of that. So now the open cap is now going to probably encourage more moves like this to like, do I really want to pay the Supermax, and what can I get for my superstar? So crazy all around. This was a nutty of a trade, and I'm sure more detail will come out day to day. And there's gonna be a 30 for 30 on this, man. There's gonna be a 30 for 30 on this. There's gonna be a documentary about this date that just happened. Luka getting traded. It's gonna be nuts. And then 10 years from now, it's gonna be analyzed where the deal took these two teams or two franchises. And it's crazy how, this is like been the biggest story. We have a Super Bowl game to play.
Like the only thing I could compare this to, like people are like, in non-sports terms, break this down, but I could only think like in sports terms. And the only thing I could think about is when the Baltimore Colts like just moved overnight to Indianapolis. Like they were just gone. And they did a whole 30 about that too. They just like loaded up a moving truck and just like packed up their stuff and just left. And like nobody knew about it until they were gone. Like this is literally like that situation. Like 1 minute you have Luka, all these reports, he's getting ready to come back. Dallas has kind of been fighting a little bit. They were winning, they were losing a little bit. They just lost Lively. All this stuff's happening, but it's like, it's okay. Luka's coming back. Our hero is here. Don't worry. And now it's like, nah, not anymore. He's gone. So I think the thing about it too is like the talent pool, like on a college level, hasn't been the greatest either. Like, so like to be these teams where like you're farming draft picks or whatever, like they got a 2029 first round pick. Like hopefully in 2029 there's somebody that's worth that pick, but at the same time, like how good is that pick even going to be? Like where is it going to be in the first round based off of how this plays out? Like you're basing your trade off a pick that's literally almost 5 years away.
Yeah.
Like you don't know. Like these are two teams that could potentially go in completely different directions. And what does Dallas do with Anthony Davis? Like they have a plethora of bigs already. Like obviously Lively went down. You got Gafford. You have Lively. You have Lively when he's healthy. PJ Tucker play out of position a little bit. So it's just a weird fit because even Luka to the Lakers, like Austin Reeves and LeBron are their primary ball handlers. So like, where does Luka even fit into that? Like how is that even going to work? So it's a lot. It's a lot for JJ Redick to figure out, and it's a lot just kind of to see what happens because it's going to be wild. It's going to be interesting. But again, like you said, this is like a 3-year down the line deal. Like LeBron's got another year or two, and he'll be gone, and then it's Luka's team. But it's Luka's team now. Like LeBron is now 1B once Luka's healthy. So is LeBron willing to do that? How much does LeBron want that? How much did LeBron even have in this? Because it seems like we're at the point now where like LeBron's a guy who's kind of always had some kind of say in what happens. And he had no idea about this, allegedly. So that's another thing too, is like these guys are losing all their power. These star players are losing all the power that we knew that made them star players. Like they're we always joked about LeBron James, like he's the general manager. LeBron James is making the decisions. Apparently not.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see where that leaves him with the Lakers. I mean, I doubt he'll be traded. But like, it'll definitely like kind of alter his decision making over the next year or two to see what happens. But this just shakes the NBA up in a way that I think it kind of needed a little bit of a reset. Like the market needed a reset. I just didn't think it would be a trade like this. I didn't expect Luka to be. I expected Luka to be one of those guys that they lost in free agency, like most teams do with their superstar. When you don't want to give him the max, and then he just refuses to sign. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna go see what my value is elsewhere," and then some team just comes in and scoops him up. But I could imagine with how some of these teams, take care of their talent. That I think next year, like Shea is eligible for a supermax. Mm-hmm. I would imagine that contract is going to be hand delivered to him in an armored truck surrounded by FBI agents, and they're going to make sure he doesn't go nowhere. It's because OKC is kind of a different franchise with how they handle players than most teams are, but it's wild, man. Sports are one of those things, man.
Yep. And apparently this trade opened up the floodgates. We're not even talking about Jimmy Butler anymore. We'll see if that comes up to fruition. But another trade that happened. Fine, this one went through. I know there's been a lot of murmurs and stuff like that, but the De'Aaron Fox trade. De'Aaron Fox went to the Spurs, him and Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings got Zach LaVine, Siskio, 3 first-round draft picks, 25 Charlotte, 27 for San Antonio, and a 31 first-round draft pick from Minnesota and 3 second-round picks. The Bulls got Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and got their own pick back from San Antonio in 2025. What you thought about this trade here? I know De'Aaron Fox played with Wemby, and what's your thought on the pairing?
I mean, Chris Paul's aging. So it's good. It's great for San Antonio. Like if you could lock up De'Aaron Fox and you could have the De'Aaron Fox Wembanyama combo for the next 4 or 5 years, depending on how they handle Victor's contracts and stuff like that. I think that's huge. I mean, I know De'Aaron Fox was a guy that once we found out he was on the trade market, there was a lot of teams who were interested, and there's a lot of names of teams that could potentially get him. I know, like, talking about Orlando might be in the market for him. There's a lot of teams that were in the De'Aaron Fox sweepstakes. But kudos to the Spurs because they got him again. They got him for a whole lot of nothing. I know there's some things about De'Aaron Fox. He's kind of gotten a bad rap the last few years with kind of how he carries himself and how he kind of is in the locker room, and we've seen what he could do to head coaches. But I think you put him in San Antonio. They're a very well-run organization. Pop's still there. You have Wemby, so it's like De'Aaron Fox has to know like that's Wemby's team. Mm-hmm. So he can kind of play second fiddle a little bit. And Wemby is one of those guys too, man. Like for as young as he is, like he's making people around him way better, and they're playing way above their level. So this could open up doors for De'Aaron Fox that we haven't even seen yet. I know people were talking about someone like him potentially going to a bigger market because of like his marketability. Like he's got shoe deals and all kinds of stuff that he wasn't taking advantage of in Sacramento. But put him with Wemby, man. you're going to get a lot of games on TV.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of eyes on you. You're going to get a lot of things that come with, playing with potentially the next great player in the NBA. So, good for him. He clearly didn't want to be in Sacramento anymore. And now the Kings are basically last year's Chicago Bulls. Just instead of
the same thing.
Instead of Vooch, you got Sabonis.
Why did you read my mind?
And then if you're the Bulls, you just showed the world that you're just rebuilding and you don't know what you're doing. So if you're a Bulls guy, sorry. But hey, you got your draft pick back, so that's cool. Yeah.
Man, you read my mind. You didn't watch the Bulls last year and then see that that's basically what it's going to be in Chicago West. You got Vooch, who's similar to Sabonis, and you go ahead and get Zach LaVine to go back and play DeMar DeRozan. What are y'all doing in Sacramento? And the Bulls too. You couldn't get more draft picks. You obviously going down this rebuilding route here. You couldn't get more draft picks. You can't get more picks out of the Spurs. Just their own one. And then the Kings. You couldn't get one of the Kings first round pick they got in this deal for getting De'Aaron Fox. What we got going on here, Chicago? It's terrible what y'all receive back for that. Paul, you cover everything you with De'Aaron Fox. That whole pick and roll between him and Wemby is going to be deadly to watch between those two for years to come. Chris Paul will still be able to pass the ball. So now Chris Paul's really just got to pass the ball. You really ain't got to shoot. You got De'Aaron Fox, who is a speed demon, and then you got Wemby, who is a freak of nature, alien. That's what they call him. So really not much, Doc. We knew this trade was coming. De'Aaron Fox do got love for Sacramento fans, but apparently he felt some type of way about negotiations between management. So this was more De'Aaron Fox kind of didn't end things well with the Sacramento management. He loved the city. He loved the fan. He was very every time I thought of Sacramento, I thought about De'Aaron Fox. That's the face of their franchise. Like that's who I associate Sacramento with. Like he was the guy. So it's gonna be weird to see him in a different uniform. But no, he's rumored to also go to Houston too. I know there was a lot of roots there. He's from New Orleans, so he's close to home now, being in San Antonio or that area, the test area. So a lot of roots up there. So it's, home cooking for him, and you get to work with a star. And the February 9th is the trade deadline, is when it's the deadline. So I'm going to see if this is going to make some dominoes fall. Jimmy Butler literally just said, I know the Warriors was interested in trying to get him, but I guess Jimmy Butler did not want to sign an extension or something like that. So I don't know, Jimmy. What
he don't know what he wants, man. He don't know
Pat Riley. What you want Pat Riley to do, man? He's trying to get you out of there, but you're making this so difficult, man. You don't want to play with Steph Curry? That's the risk you don't want to take. The greatest shooter that this NBA or the world has ever seen. You want to go play with that? You want to see your contract? What do you want, Jimmy? You really want to play Phoenix that bad? Bradley Beal, thanks to the incompetence of the Washington Wizards, has a no trade clause in his contract. He can wait. He cannot wait. He can sit there and veto any trade that he's into, thanks to the Washington Wizards. So it's going to be hard to get to Phoenix.
What a contract that is, huh?
Yeah. And then Kevin Durant, apparently, I guess the Suns are now taking calls on Kevin Durant. This NBA trade deadline, thanks to the Luka Doncic trade, just open like crazy. It's going to be crazy the next few years, man. Luka can get traded, anybody get traded. This is fun stuff.
Nobody's safe, man. Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe. All right, Paul, let's wrap this up. We're at an hour and 20. I knew when we had this Luka stuff going to happen, I was like, man, this is going to be a long episode.
Yeah, this should have been an episode all by itself.
Basically. So, all right, guys, make sure y'all stay tuned with me and Paul. We'll definitely recap what happened during the Super Bowl. Hopefully Kendrick Lamar put on a fantastic show. I ain't even talk about Kendrick Lamar. They're not like us.
Swept the Grammys last night, bro.
Yeah. Shout out to him. Shout out to my boy Justice and Tame Impala for winning Best Song, Electronic Song. So shout out to them. And then this dude, Kendrick Lamar, just racked up
In a
Right.
Canadian tuxedo, mind you. He was wearing a Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah. And shout out to Beyonce for winning Country of the Year, Country Album of the Year.
Crazy.
CMT. Yeah, guess
Crazy.
what? You want a Ricky D CMT award? You want a Grammy? Yeah. I was talking records on Twitter last night when Beyonce won that.
The wildest
should have won it.
The wildest thing I saw was when Kendrick Lamar he won for like Song of the Year, and as he was walking up, they're playing the song like as he's walking up, and the whole Grammy crowd did the A minor part.
Drake is finished, bro.
Damn, bro, that's tough, dude. That's tough.
Drake is finished. But yeah, make sure y'all stay tuned. We'll be definitely recapping that. So you can follow the podcast at BLC Podcast. You can follow Paul.
I'm on X at _Paul_Mac, on Instagram at @PaulMac520.
Absolutely. You can follow me at CP on X, Twitter, whatever you call it these days. You can get the podcast on YouTube at BLC Podcast. We're on Facebook, Balls on Court Podcast, TikTok, and Instagram, BLC Podcast. Whatever you heard this podcast before, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google, wherever you heard before. We're also on Radiate.fm, so you can check us on the internet radio station. Give us a listen there at 3 p.m. on Thursdays. And yeah, so thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we're excited to see what's going to happen for Super Bowl Sunday. Speaking for Paul, Matt, and Cortez Paul, take care, ladies and gentlemen.
Peace.